All right, guys, so what do you say we get right to it? The next stage of this tub repair is going to be duplicating this piece here on this side here where there's nothing. We want to make a connection between there, and this framework. So what I'm going to do now is fabricate a piece that follows the contour of this right here and continues over straight to this side here. And I want to tie that side in the same way that side is tied in. I'm going to make a couple of bends and plug and weld it against this side here. But what's kind of odd is trying to get the measurement when there's nothing there. That side is pretty floppy. So what I'm going to do is actually go by this point right here. There isn't much left here, and this is going to be replaced, but it gives me an indication of where that wall stopped, or that side wall stopped. So that's where I'm going to get a measurement here to get the point from here to there. So I have a rusted piece of steel that I want to use up, and it'll be perfect for this. It's in good shape, the piece of metal I'm going to use. It looks rusty, but it just has surface rust on it, but it's a relatively new piece of steel. All right, before I get that measurement, I need a point here that I'm going to use as a reference mark. And that's going to be my starting point or my stopping point, whatever way you want to look at it. So I'm going to make a line here. I don't want to get involved in this area here. I figure the overlapping of this metal is going to be strong enough here. So what I'm going to do is make a reference point here. And that's where my measurements are going to come from. I'm going to start measuring from there. I have it all cleaned up and ready to weld. When I put this piece of metal in here and overlap it, I'm actually going to put some circles and do some plug welds here. So it should be pretty strong going right across there. And also it's going to be tying into this metal. So I'm not worried about strength in this case. So I'm going to get my measurement from there, and I'm going to get that measurement from there to right there. Right wherever it's straight right there. All right, so this is what I came up with. I'm going to use this as the area where I'm going to drill some holes and plug weld that to sister it to the existing part that's still on the Jeep. Then I'm going to cut out this outer line here all the way around, well, except for this side, this is already cut out. And then I'm going to cut out these little squares here, and that's going to enable me to bend all these to a 90-degree angle. It's going to both make it strong and also make it so I can tie into both the floor and the framework that's there. This is going to be a little bit of a tough bend here. I think I can use pliers or vice grips and manipulate that so it bends, but I'll see how it goes. I might have to cut it there and not have a bend there, but I'm going to really try to get that to bend out to be a right angle, because that will help definitely make it strong. So I ended up deciding to cut it here to get around this. I'm going to try to leave this part here, and after I bend this with a brake, I'm going to tack weld this here to kind of join it back together. But let me see if I can get this to get to a right angle. A lot of times if you use a pair of pliers and just nibble at it, where you just take a little bit at a time and bend it, sometimes you can manipulate the steel enough to get it to contour that round area. You can do it with a regular pair of pliers. Really anything that you have on hand that can help you bend. And then you can kind of finish it up with hitting with a hammer. If you have like a anvil is awesome to have, but if you don't have that, sometimes a vise or any hard steel that you have. So you can kind of see it's starting to work its way around. Good. That don't look too bad. What I'll do is after I bend this pot up with a brake, I'll flatten it right out. All right, so I have that piece made. I have the plug weld holes made right here. I have it lined up with my reference mark right here. I cleaned up all the exposed metal where I'm going to be welding. Later, Tracy and I will go through and wire brush all this scaly rust, but it's actually a really good piece of metal. It just looks bad with the rust on it. I'm going to tie that in, get that welded up there, and then I'm going to work my way over to this area, and I have plug weld holes made up here, and I'm going to tie those in to that sidewall so I can pull that in and get that all lined up so I know that's a good reference mark, and I can sturdy that corner up. And then I'm going to work from this side over and pull this down to the frame that I made right here, and that's going to give me a nice level run right across. In looking at it, I probably, before I even weld that pot up, I might pull that center down just so there isn't like a bow in the middle, and tie that right into that frame, but just vice grip it for now. Hold it into place. Now I'm going to work my way over to this side and get that locked in. Well guys, I finally got a new welding helmet. And it's amazing how nice welding is when you can actually see. But now I'm gonna work on that corner and actually pull this down to the framework and get that welded in right there. So I got that piece put in and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty good, you know, for what it is. I think it matches the other side relatively well. Now what I'm gonna do is work on making the framework for this side here. I have some 1x1 inch steel stock that I'm going to use to weld right in this area here, and hopefully that's going to help this get straightened out because this has got a mad curve in it. And I'm going to actually vice grip it right to the 1x1 stock. I'm going to actually have that go along here, around here, and actually end up over here. And what I'm gonna do to make it extra strong is not cut it in two separate pieces. I'm gonna try to make it up in one piece and just cut an angle or a pie shape out of it. So at least one side of it's gonna be always connected. I'm gonna weld it, complete welding it at that corner right there. And then I'm gonna take and bend that body right around so it touches that 1x1 piece of steel right there. I've already started doing it here, and you can see it's going to make a nice strong connection, a little ledge for that to sit on right there. Well, that worked out pretty well. I have it connected all the way along here to the outer skin of the body. Now I'm going to connect it to that structural part right there. What I'm going to do is cut off this part right here. Then I'm going to reform another piece to meet the top and to overlap and tie into here. And then that will tie in that structure all the way around here. So it'll become almost a complete unit. What I'm going to do, I left these pieces long because what I'm going to do is take this after I weld it here. I'm going to take and bend that up and weld it up here also, so it has as much surface area that it catches as possible. Now I'm going to actually weld it down here and at those 2 points there, and I'll also weld it here. And what I'll do is whatever excess is left over, I'll just cut it off with the grinding wheel. All right, so I got that piece in there. You can notice I overlapped the part right here. I came out around and welded it here. And I have to continue to weld it down at the bottom. But that looks pretty good. I feel like it blends in pretty good there. One thing I realized today when I was welding, but I've been noticing it lately, I think I have to make the investment and get a new welder. I initially bought a Harbor Freight welder, and it's done pretty well. I've done a lot with it, but I'm finding that it's not doing really good right now. It's not doing good welds. The dispenser is starting to not work. It worked then, but it hasn't been working. It gets locked up. I actually have to hold the line real straight to make sure it don't kink or even bend at all, and it'll actually make it hold up. So I think I'm gonna make the investment. I have quite a bit of work I'm gonna be doing in the near future. So I think I'm gonna make the investment and get a good welder. Do you guys have any recommendations what you'd get for welder? I would like it to be reasonable. I'm thinking I want to get a Lincoln welder because it has definitely a good name. I'd love to get something that does arc, MIG, and TIG welding, but I don't know what the price range is for that. I have to do some investigating. But if you guys have a good recommendation, if you could just leave it in the comments. I'd like to keep away from Harbor Freight. I'd like to go with the brand name. I might look on Facebook Marketplace and see if there's any secondhand ones. I'm a little nervous about doing that also, unless it's some estate sale or something like that. But that's going to be it for today. What I'm going to end up doing is cleaning up all these welds and hitting them all again with a good welder, because I'm not really thrilled with the welds. But I think the progress as far as the fabrication came out pretty well. This ended up straightening out right here. This had a mad curve in it, and it's still a little curvy, but I'm happy with that anyway. So next week, what I'm gonna do is start building on this framework here. I'd like to get this side done, use that side as a model, and get this framework done. Then what I'm gonna do is work on that side, get that framework fixed up, and then hopefully we'll be able to flip this over and start doing just the flat metal, filling in all the patches. Once we get to that point, it's gonna be cruising. It's gonna be easy sailing because it's all just flat metal. It's really easy. I know a lot of you have commented that this is a lot of work, and you're definitely right, but this is about as easy as it gets. There's no doors, there's no roof. It's all pretty much flat metal, all, you know, really easy fabrication. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll come out pretty well. Even at this point, I think it looks halfway decent. But guys, that's going to be it for today, and I will see you next week, and have a great week, everybody.